My father died on a Tuesday, not peacefully in his sleep like they say in the movies, but after 3 brutal months in a hospital bed, his lungs slowly filling with fluid, his mind flickering in and out like a bad connection. I was there when he took his last breath. My brother Marcus wasn't. Marcus was on a yacht somewhere off the coast of Monaco with his wife, Vanessa. I'm Jessica, 34 years old, middle management at a pharmaceutical consulting firm in Philadelphia, divorced, no kids, living in a studio apartment that smells faintly of the Indian restaurant downstairs. My life is ordinary in every conceivable way, except for one detail. My father was Richard Caldwell, and when he died, he left behind $600 million. $600 million. The number doesn't even sound real when I say it out loud. It's the kind of wealth that changes gravity around you, that makes people look at you differently even when you're wearing the same Target clearance rack blouse you've owned for 3 years. My father built that fortune from nothing. He started with a small construction company in Newark in 1978, back when the city was falling apart and nobody wanted to invest in anything. He saw opportunity where everyone else saw ruin. By the time I was born, Caldwell Construction had contracts in 17 states. By the time I graduated college, we were international. But here's the thing about my father. He hated excess. Hated it. He drove a 15-year-old Volvo. He wore the same brown leather jacket for 23 years. When I was 16 and begged for a BMW like my classmates had, he bought me a used Honda Civic and told me if I wanted luxury, I should earn it myself. Money, he used to say, doesn't make you better than anyone. It just makes your mistakes more expensive. Marcus, my older brother by 6 years, never really absorbed that lesson. He went to Yale, then Harvard Business School, then straight into the family company with the expectation that he'd eventually take over. And he did, technically. He became CEO when Dad stepped down 5 years ago. After his first heart attack, that's when Marcus met Vanessa. She was a brand consultant, her words, working with high net worth individuals to optimize their public image. She had a degree from a mid-tier college in Connecticut and an Instagram account with 200,000 followers. She posted photos of herself in front of private jets she didn't own, holding champagne flutes at parties she wasn't invited to, wearing clothes with tags still hidden under strategic angles. Marcus fell for her like a stone dropped from a skyscraper. They were married within 8 months. I wasn't even told about the engagement until 3 weeks before the wedding, which was held at some absurdly expensive vineyard in Napa Valley. The whole thing cost close to $2 million. Dad didn't attend. He sent a card. I should have seen it coming. The way Vanessa looked at our father's house in Alpine, New Jersey, the modest 4-bedroom he'd lived in since 1985, like it was somehow beneath her. The way she'd casually mentioned that families of a certain stature typically have homes in the Hamptons or Palm Beach. The way she'd ask pointed questions about Dad's estate planning at Thanksgiving dinner, then laugh it off as just curious. But I didn't see it. Not really. Not until the will reading. The lawyer's office was in Manhattan, on the 43rd floor of a building that looked like it was made entirely of glass and ambition. I took the train in from Philly the night before and stayed in a budget hotel near Penn Station. Marcus and Vanessa flew in from wherever they'd been, St. Tropez, maybe, or Ibiza, and stayed at the Four Seasons. The reading was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Thursday morning. I wore a black dress I'd bought for my divorce hearing. It seemed appropriate. Marcus wore a charcoal Tom Ford suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Vanessa wore Chanel, the real stuff, not the knockoffs you see on Canal Street, and carried a Birkin bag that I knew, because she'd told me at least 7 times, was worth $45,000. Jessica, she said when she saw me in the lobby, her voice dripping with the kind of pity people reserve for stray dogs. Oh, sweetie, are you okay? You look tired. I was tired. I'd been handling all of Dad's medical decisions for 3 months while Marcus sent occasional texts asking if everything was handled. I'd been the one who held Dad's hand when the morphine wasn't enough. I'd been the one who cleaned out his house, who went through 50 years of memories packed into cardboard boxes, who found his Bronze Star from Vietnam tucked in a drawer beneath his old tax returns. I'm fine, I said. Vanessa's smile was sharp. Well, today's going to be difficult for all of us. Closure is never easy. Something about the way she said closure made my skin crawl. The lawyer's name was Bernard Strauss. He was 70-something, with white hair and the kind of calm, measured voice that probably cost $500 an hour. His office overlooked Central Park. I could see the leaves changing color, brilliant reds and oranges against the gray skyline. Thank you both for coming, Bernard said, gesturing to the leather chairs across from his desk. I know this is a difficult time. Vanessa settled into her chair like she was posing for a portrait. Marcus looked nervous, which surprised me. He kept adjusting his tie. Bernard opened a folder. Richard Caldwell's estate is substantial and, as you know, complex. He was very specific about his wishes. I felt something tighten in my chest. The estate is valued at approximately $623 million, Bernard continued, including real estate holdings, stock portfolios, the company shares, and various trusts and investments. Vanessa's eyes went wide. I could literally see her doing the math. The distribution is as follows, Bernard said, pulling out a document. To Marcus Caldwell, Richard's son and current CEO of Caldwell Construction. Richard bequeaths full control of the company operations, with a 10% equity stake, and a trust fund valued at $15 million for the continued operation and growth of the business. Marcus blinked. 10%? To Jessica Caldwell, Richard's daughter. Bernard looked at me, and something in his expression was almost apologetic. Richard bequeaths 45% of Caldwell Construction, the family home in Alpine, his entire personal collection of books and letters, and the remainder of the liquid estate, including all investment accounts and properties, totaling approximately $590 million. The room went silent. Not the kind of silence where you can hear people breathing. The kind where the air itself seems to stop moving. I'm sorry, Vanessa said, her voice suddenly sharp. Can you repeat that? Bernard did. Word for word. That's impossible, Vanessa said. She turned to Marcus. That's impossible. Tell him that's impossible. Marcus looked like he'd been hit in the face with a shovel. I couldn't speak. I felt like I was floating 6 inches above my chair. There must be a mistake, Vanessa continued, her voice rising. Marcus is the oldest. Marcus runs the company. Marcus, the will is clear, Bernard said calmly. Richard was of sound mind when he drafted this document, and it was witnessed by 3 separate parties, including 2 physicians. There is no ambiguity. But why? Vanessa's face was red now. Why would he do that? Bernard looked at me, then back at Vanessa. Richard included a letter to be read at this time. Would you like me to? Yes, I whispered. Bernard pulled out a single sheet of paper, unfolded it, and began to read in my father's voice, or at least the ghost of it. To my children, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. And you're probably sitting in Bernard's office wondering what the hell I was thinking. Marcus, I gave you the company because I believe you can run it. You're smart, you're driven, and you understand the business better than I ever did. But I'm giving you 10% because I need you to learn something I never taught you properly: humility. You've spent the last 5 years acting like the company is yours by birthright. It isn't. You earn respect, son. You don't inherit it, Jessica. I'm giving you the rest because you're the only person who ever visited me without wanting something. You're the only one who called just to talk. You're the one who stayed when things got hard. You reminded me why I worked so hard in the first place, not for money, but for family. Money reveals who people are. I hope this reveals something good. I love you both. Dad. Bernard folded the letter and set it on the desk. Vanessa stood up so fast her chair fell backward. This is bullshit, she said, her voice shaking. This is Marcus. Say something. Do something. Marcus just stared at the floor. We're contesting this, Vanessa said, pointing at Bernard. We're contesting this will. You can't. He was old. He was sick. He wasn't thinking clearly, Mrs. Caldwell, Bernard said, his voice still calm. Your husband is welcome to contest the will, but I should inform you that Richard anticipated this possibility. If any challenge is raised, the trust fund allocated to Marcus will be immediately dissolved and transferred to the Jessica Caldwell Foundation. a charitable organization established in the will for the benefit of underprivileged youth in Newark, New Jersey. Vanessa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Additionally, Bernard continued, Richard stipulated that any family member who contests the will forfeits all inheritance rights permanently. The silence came back, heavier this time. So you're saying, Vanessa said slowly, that if we fight this, Marcus gets nothing. That is correct. She turned to Marcus. Her face was a mask of barely controlled rage. You're going to let this happen? You're going to let your little sister, Vanessa. Marcus's voice was quiet. Stop! 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 Do you understand what just happened? Do you understand that she just stole? She didn't steal anything, Marcus said. He finally looked up, and I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Shame. Dad gave it to her, because she deserved it. Vanessa stared at him like he'd just spoken in a foreign language. Then she grabbed her Birkin bag and walked out without another word. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. I went back to work the following Monday. I know that sounds insane. I'd just inherited more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And I still showed up at my beige cubicle at Hartman and Loeb Consulting at 8:30 in the morning with my usual coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. But here's the thing. I didn't know what else to do. Money, I was learning, doesn't give you purpose. It just gives you options. And when you suddenly have infinite options, you kind of freeze. My co-workers didn't know yet. The will reading had been private, and I hadn't told anyone except my best friend, Angela, who'd immediately started crying and then made me promise I wouldn't turn into one of those insufferable rich people. You have to stay normal, she'd said, gripping my hands across her kitchen table. Promise me you'll stay normal. I'd promised. Even though I had no idea what normal meant anymore. At work, everything felt surreal. My boss, Derek, stopped by my desk at 9:15 to ask if I'd finished a client report on time. I had, he said, good, and walked away. And I thought, I could buy this entire company 16 times over, and you have no idea. It was a strange kind of power. Invisible, intoxicating. Leela, the receptionist, asked if I wanted to split a new Biryat's order for lunch. They're running a promotion, she said. Free delivery. I said yes. At noon, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. We need to talk. I didn't respond. Another text. 5 minutes later. Vanessa is losing her mind. Please call me. I turned my phone face down. The gossip started on Wednesday. I don't know how it leaked. Maybe someone at the law firm talked. Maybe Marcus told someone who told someone else. Maybe Vanessa, in her rage, posted something cryptic on Instagram that got people digging. All I know is that by Wednesday afternoon, my coworker Rachel cornered me in the break room. Is it true? She asked, her eyes wide. About your dad? My stomach dropped. What did you hear? That he was, like, really rich? And that he left everything to you? I felt my face get hot. It's complicated. Oh my God, Rachel breathed. It is true. How much? Rachel, people are saying $600 million. Is that real? Is that actually real? I didn't answer. I just walked out. By Thursday, everyone knew. Derek called me into his office. He was sweating. Jessica, he said, I just want to say, if you're planning to leave, I totally understand. But I hope you know how much we value you here. And if there's anything we can do to make you want to stay, I'm not leaving. I said. He looked relieved, then confused. You're not? Not yet. He nodded slowly, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Okay, well, great. That's great. At lunch, no one sat with me. I sat alone in the corner of the cafeteria with my desk salad, and I could feel people staring, whispering, calculating. She's rich now. Why is she still here? What's wrong with her? I wanted to scream. I don't know what else to do. I don't know who I am without this. But I didn't. I just ate my salad and pretended I couldn't feel their eyes. Vanessa called me Friday night. I'd been avoiding her calls all week. But this time, something made me answer. Jessica, she said. And her voice was different, softer. Can we talk, please? I don't think that's a good idea. I know I was. I know I didn't react well. At the reading, I was in shock. We both were. I didn't say anything. Look, Vanessa continued. I'm not calling to fight. I'm calling because I think we can work something out. Something that's fair for everyone. Fair? Marcus deserves more than 10% of the company, Jessica. You know that. He's been running it for 5 years. Your father wasn't thinking clearly at the end. The medication, the stress stop. I said. I'm just saying he was perfectly clear. I said, my voice shaking. Clearer than he'd been in months. He knew exactly what he was doing. Then why would he humiliate Marcus like that? Why would he punish him? He wasn't punishing him. He was teaching him. Vanessa laughed. It was a bitter, ugly sound. Teaching him? By giving everything to his little sister who's never worked a day in the company, who's been coasting at some nobody consulting firm for the last decade. Something snapped in me. You want to know why Dad left me the money? I said, because I was there. I was there when he couldn't breathe. I was there when he cried because the pain was so bad. I was there when he told me he was scared of dying. Where were you, Vanessa? Where was Marcus? Silence. You were on a yacht, I said, posting Instagram stories with champagne. And you didn't come home until 2 days after he died. That's not fair. You didn't even cry at the funeral, I said. You spent the whole time networking with Dad's business associates. I watched you hand out your business cards. I was grieving in my own way. You were calculating your inheritance. The line went dead. I stood there in my tiny apartment, shaking, the phone still pressed to my ear, and then I started crying. Not because of Vanessa, because of everything. Because my father was gone. Because I was rich and alone. Because money hadn't fixed anything. It had just made everything more complicated. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. At the office, I was in a meeting with Derek and 3 clients from a medical device company. We were discussing pricing strategy for a product launch. It was the kind of meeting I'd led 100 times before. Halfway through my presentation, one of the clients, a man named Gordon, mid-50s, perpetual golfed, and interrupted me. I'm sorry, he said, but I have to ask, are you the Jessica Caldwell? From the Caldwell family? The room went silent. Yes, I said. Gordon grinned. I thought so. I read about your father in the Wall Street Journal. Hell of a businessman. 600 million, right? That's what the estate was worth. I felt my face burning. I'd prefer not to discuss. Must be nice, Gordon continued, leaning back in his chair. Sitting on that kind of money makes you wonder why you're still here doing this. He gestured vaguely at the PowerPoint presentation on the screen. Derek jumped in. Gordon, I don't think. No. I'm serious, Gordon said. I mean, no offense, sweetheart, but you're worth more than this entire firm. Why are you wasting your time talking to us about pricing strategies? Shouldn't you be on a beach somewhere? The other clients laughed. Not mean laughs exactly, but not kind ones either. I stood up. Excuse me, I said quietly. I walked out of the conference room, down the hall, past the cubicles, past Leela at the front desk, and out into the street. I kept walking. I walked for 6 blocks before I realized I was crying. I walked for 10 blocks before I realized I wasn't going back. I quit my job the next day. Sent Derek an email at 6 in the morning. Professional. Brief. No explanation. He called me twice. I didn't answer. Angela came over that night with wine and ice cream. So she said, sitting cross-legged on my couch, "You're officially unemployed and obscenely wealthy. How does it feel?" "Terrifying," I said. "Good," Angela said. "It should be. Money like that changes people. You've seen it happen." I had. I'd watched Vanessa transform my brother from someone decent into someone I barely recognized. I'd watched people at work treat me differently the moment they knew. I'd felt the weight of expectation, the assumption that I'd become someone else. What am I supposed to do? I asked. Angela shrugged. Whatever you want. That's the whole point, isn't it? But that was the problem. I didn't know what I wanted. For 34 years, I'd followed a script. School, job, marriage, divorce, job again. I'd never stopped to ask what I actually wanted from life. And now I had all the time and money in the world to figure it out. And I had no idea where to start. The final confrontation happened at Dad's house in Alpine. I'd been avoiding going back there. Too many memories. Too much grief. But I needed to start going through his things, figuring out what to keep and what to donate. I drove up on a Saturday morning in early November. The leaves were almost gone from the trees, and the air had that sharp, clean smell that comes right before winter. I'd changed the locks the week before, but when I pulled into the driveway, there was a car already there, Marcus's Tesla. I found them in the living room. Marcus was standing by the fireplace, and Vanessa was sitting on the couch, her arms crossed. "What are you doing here?" I asked. Marcus looked exhausted. He'd lost weight. There were dark circles under his eyes. "We need to talk," he said. "You keep saying that. Jessica, please. Just listen." I stayed in the doorway, ready to leave. Marcus took a breath. "Vanessa wants a divorce." I looked at Vanessa. She was staring at the wall, her jaw tight. "She's leaving me," Marcus continued, "because I won't contest the will, because I won't fight you." "Good," I said. Marcus flinched. "She's taking everything. The house, the cars, half of my trust fund." "You married her," I said. "That was your choice." "I know," Marcus said quietly. "I know it was." Vanessa stood up. "I'm not staying for this," she said. She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something raw in her eyes. Not anger, fear. She'd bet everything on Marcus being the golden child, the heir, the one with the fortune. And she'd lost. "You think you're so much better than me," Vanessa said. "You think you deserve this because you held your father's hand while he was dying. But you don't know anything about sacrifice. You don't know what it's like to build a life with someone and then watch it all disappear because of some old man's grudge." "It wasn't a grudge," I said. "It was love." Vanessa laughed. "Love?" "He humiliated Marcus. He destroyed our lives." "No," I said. "You destroyed your own life. You married my brother for his money, and when the money went somewhere else, you left." "That's not my father's fault." "That's yours." Vanessa's face twisted. For a second, I thought she might slap me, but she just grabbed her coat and walked out. The front door slammed. Marcus and I stood there in the silence. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for everything, for not being there, for letting it all get so twisted." I didn't know what to say. "Dad was right," Marcus continued. "About me, about all of it. I did think I was entitled to everything. I thought because I ran the company, because I had the degree, because I was the oldest, I thought I deserved it more than you, Marcus, but I didn't," he said. "I didn't earn it. Not the way you did." He looked at me, and I saw my brother again. Not the CEO, not Vanessa's husband, just Marcus. The kid who used to build forts with me in the backyard. The teenager who taught me how to drive. The man who'd slowly lost himself in ambition and appearance. "I don't want your money," Marcus said. "I just want my sister back." I felt tears welling up. "I'm here," I said. And I was. "It's been 6 months since Dad died. I sold my apartment in Philadelphia and moved into the house in Alpine. I'm slowly making it mine. New paint, new furniture, new memories to replace the old ones. I started a foundation, like Dad wanted. The Jessica Caldwell Foundation focuses on supporting young people from low-income families who want to start their own businesses. We provide grants, mentorship, resources. I work on it every day, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Marcus is rebuilding. He's still CEO of Caldwell Construction, and he's actually good at it now. Humble, focused. He calls me every Sunday, and we talk about Dad, about the company, about life. He's dating someone new, a teacher from Montclair. She's kind. She doesn't care about the money. Vanessa moved to Los Angeles. I heard she's engaged to a producer. I hope she finds whatever she's looking for. As for me, I'm still figuring it out. I don't have all the answers. I don't know if I'll ever feel fully comfortable with this kind of wealth. It's strange being able to buy anything but still feeling like something's missing. But I know one thing. My father was right. Money reveals who people are. And I'm trying every day to make sure it reveals something good in me. Some days I succeed. Some days I fail. But I keep trying. Because that's what love looks like. Not yachts. Not designer bags. Not $600 million. Just showing up. Being there, holding someone's hand when everything else falls apart, that's the inheritance that actually matters. And that's the one I'm trying to pass on.